The Sunday school lesson for March the 16th, 2025 is the ordination of priests. Exodus chapter 29, verses 1 through 9, and verses 35 through 37. Welcome, viewers and subscribers, to my channel, The Backstory and More. I am Audrey. If you are interested in knowing what happens before each Sunday school lesson, you are at the right place because I will share the backstory, read the lesson text, and offer a brief lesson summary. The backstory takes us to Exodus chapter 28, where the priestly garments are described. Altogether, 8 priestly sacred garments are described. All priests wore linen undergarments, tunics, sashes, and caps. Verse 4 mentions the 4 garments worn exclusively by Aaron, the high priest: the breastplate, ephod, robe, and turban. The ephod was a sleeveless garment that hung from Aaron's shoulder with 2 straps and was secured by a waistband or sash tied around his waist. On each shoulder strap was an onyx stone engraved with the names of 6 of the sons of Israel. The breastplate, made of the same material as the ephod, was 9 inches square and folded double to make a pocket. It was called the breastplate for making decisions because of the Urim and the Thummim, some sort of lot used to discern God's will in times of crises. Under the ephod, Aaron wore a robe entirely of blue. Around the hem were alternating gold bells and pomegranates. The jingling bells assured those listening that the high priest had not died in the holy place. The key element of the turban was a plate of pure gold engraved with the words, "Holy to the Lord." In Israel's earliest days, Aaron and his sons became the first priests under the nation's leadership by Moses, who was Aaron's brother. Exodus chapter 7, verse 1, and chapter 28, verse 1. They were anointed, ordained, and consecrated to do so, 28 and 41. The act of anointing consisted of pouring oil on the priest's head, done as a ritual to show a person had been selected. Ordination was the act of appointment through the authority of the congregation of the people. Consecration was the setting apart of the person for the task of the priesthood, with the tacit agreement that the person would strive to live a holy, blameless life, observing the laws of Israel as given by God through Moses. Within the new nation of Israel, God planned for men of the tribe of Levi to be designated with tasks associated with the tabernacle and later and temple. Numbers chapter 3 verses 5 through 9 and chapter 8 verses 5 through 26. First Chronicles chapter 23 verses 28 through 32. From this tribe were to come the priests. Deuteronomy chapter 18 verses 1 through 5. Priests were mediators between God and the people. In this role, priests offered sacrifices for atonement on their behalf. Leviticus chapter 4 verse 13 through 35 and chapter 9 verse 7. Priests were to teach and model God's distinctions between clean and unclean. Chapter 10 verses 10 through 11. The backstory ends here, and our lesson continues with the next slide. Verse 1. This is what you are to do to consecrate them, so they may serve me as priests. Take a young bull and 2 rams without defect. Verse 2. And from the finest wheat flour make round loaves without yeast, thick loaves without yeast, and with olive oil mix in, and thin loaves without yeast, and brush with olive oil. Verses 3 through 4. Put them in a basket and present them along with the bull and the two rams. Then bring Aaron and his sons to the entrance to the tent of meeting and wash them with water. Verses 5 through 6. Take the garments and dress Aaron with the tunic, the robe of the ephod itself, and the breastplate. Fasten the ephod on him by its skillfully woven waistband. Put the turban on his head and attach the sacred emblem to the turban. Verses 7 through 9. Take the anointing oil and anoint him by pouring it on his head. Bring his sons and dress them in tunics and fasten caps on them. Then tie sashes on Aaron and his sons. The priesthood is theirs by a lasting ordinance. Then you shall ordain Aaron and his sons. Verses 35 through 37. Do for Aaron and his sons everything I have commanded you, taking 7 days to ordain them. Sacrifice a bull each day as a sin offering to make atonement. Purify the altar by making atonement for it, and anoint it to consecrate it. For 7 days make atonement for the altar and consecrate it. Then the altar will be most holy, and whatever touches it will be holy. A brief summary of Exodus chapter 29. Moses received God's instructions for how to consecrate Aaron and his sons through sacrifices, washing, putting on the priestly garments, and being anointed with oil. 1 bull and 2 rams were sacrificed to atone for Aaron and his sons. They were to lay their hands on the head of the animals, in essence, transferring their sins to the sin bearer. The blood of the first ram was used to consecrate the altar, while the blood of the second ram was used to consecrate the priests. The select parts of this ram, along with 3 kinds of bread, were used as a wave offering. The breast and the thigh that were presented to the Lord were given to the priests and their families. Leviticus chapter 10, verse 14. The sacred garments were to be passed down to subsequent generations. Future high priests would wear them for 7 days, probably symbolizing the completeness of their ordination. Likewise, the complete dedication of the altar required the sacrifice of a bull for 7 straight days. Now Moses received instructions regarding the daily offerings. 2 lambs a year old were to be sacrificed, one in the morning and the other at twilight. These sacrifices were accompanied by a mixture of flour and oil, olive oil, along with a drink offering of wine. Here at the tent of meeting, God promised to meet with his people and speak to them. God also promised that when the materials for the tabernacle were assembled and it was erected, then he would consecrate it. He would also consecrate the altar and the priests. God's most precious promise was that he would dwell among the Israelites and be their God. In fact, he had brought them out of Egypt for this very purpose. Thank you so very much for listening, and join me soon for the next backstory and more. May God continue to richly bless each of you, is my prayer.